So what's going on, guys and gals? I'm going to tell you a story today about why you need to get started with this stuff, and it might not even be through me. With crypto, you have to get started right now. I'm going to tell you why, and after the last year, it should seem really, really evident for you, but I've been jerked around before. I've lost everything. My family's lost everything. It was my fault. It was all my fault, and a lot of the things you're going through right now are not your fault. It's not your fault you don't want to get a vaccine. It's not your fault you got COVID and you don't need a vaccine. It's not your fault that you can't get one because your doctor said you can't get one, and it's not your fault that you're going to have to quit your job. Some of you, not all of you. But I want to share this with you. I'm a crypto guy here on YouTube. What I am doing here is I'm trying to show you guys that there are people out there that have gone through what you've gone through, that have been through that ringer and have reluctantly been brought into this whole crypto game, and that there are ways to make money. Now, if I told a person, look, I'm going to be able to turn $100 into $200 really quickly, people would say, you're full of crap. Don't lie to me. That's impossible. I know, because I've dealt with banks in my life. I'm not an idiot. You're telling me something that's too good to be true, and I totally thought that too. I already did a video on how it all works. You can go check that out. But I want to tell you a personal story that I haven't even told my main channel, Not Leaving Las Vegas, which is that hat right there. Now, it's a story about financial crisis, fallout, screwing around for about a decade, and then getting to the point where you got to do something. And if you don't do something, then nothing happens. But I got used and abused by a corporate company. And right now, that's what's happening to a lot of you. You're being used and abused by corporate companies, especially after the last year where companies wanted to protect their bottom line. Heck, here in Vegas, the big thing is they haven't hired people back, but the consumer is back. So the consumer is getting a worse experience, and the casino is making just as much money, if not more, than they ever did, according to their stock prices. But that's all a game that we'll talk about on Not Leaving Las Vegas. Subscribe to this channel if you want to get a channel on crypto that doesn't dazzle you with bullcrap charts and candlesticks. Those are out there. Those are other people. I'm going to tell you guys how it really is, in my opinion. If you follow me, great. That's wonderful. Leave us a comment below about what has been a challenge for you in the last year. I'd like to hear that. That'd be great. You can sound off in the comments. YouTube's largely anonymous. Who cares, right? So it was back in 2007. I started into the timeshare business here in Vegas. Now, I was the guy that would actually stand on the street corner and try to entice you to get to the tour. I wasn't the guy trying to get 50 grand from you over the course of your lifetime. I was the guy who was trying to get 90 minutes out of you on your Vegas vacation. And at first I was screwed because I was only making $20 to bring him over to that guy who would sign him up for the actual tour. I should have been making 40, but what did I know? The guy that I was bringing him to, that was my closer. He was making 40 bucks on a deposit, taking cash to hold their seat for the tour, and paying me 20 when he should have been paying me 40. I moved my way on up to making 40 bucks and a shot when the boss found out about that, because I was good at it and he didn't want me to leave and be upset. And then I became the guy that actually got you to do the tour, and I was making maybe 100 bucks each time. And it was all commission, but it was all on me. My first screw up was that I didn't work hard enough. I would tell my wife that there was no business out there. I would drive around, look at stuff at Best Buy or Fry's Electronics when Fry's was still open, that I couldn't afford, even though I could go out and make the money, and I'd make excuses. I asked the old guys that were also next to me that have been doing this game for a long time, why is there no business? Instead of asking, why am I not working harder? And then they would say things like, oh, well, there's no business because it's not the season. Just wait a few months. And I waited a few months until a few months turned into a few years. A few years turned into a decade. During that time, though, we went through 2008, 2009, into that horrible financial crisis. And during that time, I'd still learned a lot as an intellectual person, and I was good at explaining things. And so I was offered the opportunity to go up to Lake Tahoe and be a manager. Now, I would have a salary. I'd have a little bit of money from when the people sent my people that I trained to do what I was doing, sent them on the tour. And it sounded like 401ks, moving expenses, relocation expenses, just bring your whole wife up. Just go ahead, disrupt your entire life in Vegas, a full-service city with 2 million people in the area. Move to a town with 25,000 people where you got to drive 45 minutes to get to a big box retail store like a Walmart or a Target. Everything is more expensive in the city because it's small retailers. Just go ahead, move. We're going to be fine, just fine. So I took actually that chance. And a unique thing was happening at the time, and I have to explain this quickly. At the time, it was Caesars Entertainment who was leasing spots in casinos in the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe. Now, Lake Tahoe is a big, huge body of water, second largest, deepest lake, inland lake, I think, second deepest in North America. So what happens is they put the border between California and Nevada down the center. On the Nevada side, you can go gamble. And there's South Lake Tahoe, which is where all the services are. So turns out the CEO of the little company I was working for was childhood friends with the head honcho from Caesars for the regional Northern Nevada. And they ran everything on a buddy-buddy system, so they had a sweetheart deal. A giant billion-dollar timeshare company, which will go unnamed, had pulled out of there about 6 months prior because of the bad economy and just left everybody high and dry. But this was a small company. They'd never do that. They had employees that had been working with them for 35 years and were getting $10,000 bonuses at Christmas for their loyalty. So this is a good company to work for. Maybe, possibly. This is where the screwing me starts, screwing my family. So I went up there for a few months, felt it out. My wife stayed down here, ran 2 households, and then we made the big move. You know, packed up almost everything we had into a storage and rented a U-Haul and not even a U-Haul, yeah. Not a U-Haul. We drove our little RAV4, our 2001, breaking down, which I still have. It's not breaking down as much because I've been able to repair it since 2008-10. But we drove that with 2 cats all the way up to Lake Tahoe. Stayed in a little cockroach motel. The problem was we had created so much success on that sales line by training the people to entice them to do the tour up at the resort in the mountains, that they started making money. And the company, the billion-dollar company that's in like 100 different countries, they came back in, and by then Caesars Entertainment had gone to look at their balance sheet for how they make decisions, not for old personal relationships. They just cared about the money. So when the billion-dollar company came in and saw that we were successful, they said, oh, I guess Lake Tahoe isn't a dead market. Let's write a giant check and let's get back in here. And just like that, click. I was out of business. I was out of work. There was no other side of the street, a term we used in Vegas all the time, because if there's a timeshare company on this side of the street, you can always go to that side of the street. So now look, my point of all this is that I was left walking back to that little cockroach hotel with a box with my stuff in it, my trophy that we had gotten at an award ceremony and this kind of crap, and a small severance check. And that's all I had. And I had to tell my wife that we had nothing going on except for like $2,500, which at the time was like, oh my God, we have $2,500, but no job. We came back to Vegas. I stayed out of the timeshare biz for a while. I managed to sell Grand Canyon tours freelance on a street corner. We upgraded. I started off with a map of the area to do a pitch with a clipboard, moved up to an iPad 6 months later. Then the cops shut us down. Point is this, look, you know who stayed up in Lake Tahoe? The son of the lady who brought me there, who had no experience in management, who had come there only 3 months prior. She protected her job. She protected his job. She didn't protect my job. And that's what companies do to you. That's what they do. They chew you up, they spit you out. I'm not telling you to quit your company. I'm telling you, though, that you need to do something. You need to start this. I don't care if you start with me and you email me and I explain it to you. We'll do a phone call, whatever. We'll talk on Signal or WhatsApp. I don't care. Signal, not WhatsApp. WhatsApp's not encrypted. Signal is. Don't use WhatsApp, kids, for personal stuff. Facebook's reading your messages. Trust me, go research it on your own. I don't care where you start. I don't care if you start on Binance. I don't care if you start on Coinbase. Don't care if you start on Robinhood. Or with me, just start doing something in this crypto space, because I'm telling you right now, these companies don't care. You know, there was a story on the news during COVID about a lady who had worked her whole life somewhere, and she worked with AT&T, and then they had her train her replacement. Now she thought, okay, I'm being replaced. They're getting rid of my job. It's okay because I have a contract through the telecom union that says that if they replace me, I get this big severance and I can retire early. And instead of that, AT&T simply bought a crappier company and had her go be a manager at the crappier company for less money, because that's in the contract too. If they provide you another job, you have to take it. And if you don't take it, you get nothing. So she lost. And I'm thinking, you've been there for 37 years. Like, you didn't think of following a passion or something. You didn't think of going back to school. You thought, and maybe rightly so, because this is how it used to work, folks. You thought, this is going to be okay. It's going to be all right, because this is the way America works. You get your company, you put in your time, eventually you turn my watch off. Eventually you're taken care of. But that's not how it works anymore. That's not the world we live in. Right now, current administration has all these rules. Companies are adhering to the rules because they're freaked out over OSHA. What they fail to see is that OSHA is not everywhere. There's only a couple hundred offices to cover every person in America. Nobody's going to check in on you, but you're still getting forced to get something that you might not want or might not be able to get, like, safely. It's messy. Start somewhere. Just start somewhere. Start somewhere, okay? Don't start with me. Start somewhere else. If you start with me, I'd be happy to help you out with that. Again, go check the first video, the first comment to this video. We're turning $100 for people into $200, into $400, into $1,000 within a short period of time using decentralized finance with Ethereum, because we're in a very unique place in time that won't last forever. Start somewhere. Start today. The best time to plant a tree, 10 years ago. The second best time, yesterday. Third best time today. Just do something. I'm Steven. I'm not leaving crypto. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for future notifications. That's my sad sob story. But we're living something different now because this is a new chapter for everybody. Like, share, subscribe. We'll talk to you later. If you're just browsing through, leave us a comment. I gotta go. 3, 2, 1, and. Is this the right button? And I appreciate you guys. And click.